dramatically in the past few years. For example, for a man age 45 non-tobacco user, it's $1 million of coverage at $75 per month, level rate for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco user can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Term Busters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for a new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-866-929-1950. That's 1-866-929-1950. You're probably paying more than you should. Call Term Busters at 1-866-929-1950. That's 1-866-929-1950. Remember, 1-866-929-1950. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes for preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required to qualify.
At Denny's, you can get 2 eggs, 2 pancakes, 3 pieces of sausage, and 3 pieces of bacon, all for $5.99. Now, before you say, wow, that's a lot of meat, know that this dish has its fan base right there in the name. This is for people who really love meat, the super meat lovers. So if you're a super meat lover who likes the idea of getting all the meat you love at a super low price, then the $5.99 Meat Lovers Slam is for you. See you at Denny's. Price and participation may vary. Limited time only, no substitutions.
Hey, Chad here from the Sports Drive. Well, it's the offseason, so it's time to get the players ready, geared up for football, and motivate them.
We've got to be the dumbest team in America in terms of playing the game. We give games away. We give them away, period.
We couldn't do diddly poo offensively. I just hope we can win a game.
Watching 48 more hours of videotape, gain another 10 pounds. That's how you get ready for Sunday, okay?
Or that. Join us for some off-season fun right here on the Sports Drive, 5 to 7 on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
Car guys know not all motor oils are created equal, because when your engine hits 75,000 miles, cheaper motor oils won't do. That's why Valvoline created full synthetic high mileage with MaxLife technology, designed to fight sludge, condition seals, and better protect critical engine components as your engine ages. Keep your high mileage ride driving well into the future. Valvoline, trusted for 150 years. Now at Advanced Auto Parts, buy 5 quarts of Valvoline full synthetic high mileage and a filter for just $33.99. Terms and conditions may apply.
This is Pensacola's hometown all-sports station and home of the Blue Wahoos, ESPN Pensacola 94.5. Catch all the Wahoos games home and away all season, plus all the latest Wahoos news from Chad Brilliante on the Sports Drive, 5 till game time weeknights. And hey, if your business would like to partner with us as an advertiser or with a local sports promotion, then give us a call at 850-262-6000 or shoot us an email from the advertise page on ESPNpensacola.com.
All sports, all the time. ESPN Pensacola, 94.5 WYCT Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5, also on your HD radio at HD2 98.7 WYCT and streaming on our website, ESPNpensacola.com. Welcome into Talk Football with Coach K on this Friday. It is the weekend. You've made it through another work week, and we are ready to talk some football here today. And got a lot to talk about. Got a very special guest joining us at 12:15, as a matter of fact. Coach, we've got none other than Tim Brando joining us here on Talk Football, and that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be able to find out more information like we kind of touched on yesterday. We're going to be able to find out more information about guys like the quarterback at Oregon, Justin Herbert, because Tim Brando now out on the West Coast covering college football out there. So, Coach, it's going to be a great interview. Again, he's coming up 12:15.
Yeah, and this is you're right, and this could go on for 2 or 3 hours, really. I mean, it's that informative. There's so many things we'd like to catch up with him on, and we're going to do our best to get as much information as we can within the time frame allowed.
All right, Coach, let's take a look at some of the headlines now from around the world of football. Coach, it looks like Dallas for the XFL, not the Cowboys, but for the XFL, they might have found an offensive coordinator, and it's a name that a lot of football fans will probably recognize. He is the architect of the air raid offense, Coach. It's none other than Hal Mummy. He's going to be the offensive coordinator for the Dallas XFL team. So Bob Stoops not messing around with his coaching staff he's putting together. He's putting together a quality coaching staff, and this almost kind of very much resembles what Steve Spurrier did in the AAF with the Orlando Apollos, Coach. Put together a great coaching staff and a good football team, and ultimately we saw that turn out to very good results for them. So Coach, Dallas so far making really good moves there with Bob Stoops as the head coach.
Well, this is odd. This is an odd choice. These are strange bedfellows, Stoops and Mummy. With Mummy, when he was at Kentucky, they never punted. They always went for it on fourth down.
Right.
They threw the ball 60, 65 times, 70 times a game. Stoops is a defensive coordinator. I don't necessarily see that as being a good marriage, but you never know. I mean, maybe Stoops just says, hey, what the heck, we're just going to go out there and play football like they do in the Big Eight where he just came from. So maybe that's the way they're going to go. It sounds like it, certainly.
All right, Coach, let's move now to some NFL. We're getting reports that, we're starting to see players, especially with rookies, getting their rookie camps and their rookie workouts underway, OTAs getting underway and all that stuff. We're starting to kind of hear on how these players that were taken in the draft are starting to adjust to life in the NFL. And, Coach, some of the words we're getting, one of the most scrutinized picks in the NFL draft, Daniel Jones to the New York Giants with the 6th pick. Coach, according to reports we're getting out of Giants camp, it's turning out to be quite a positive thing because apparently he's picking that offense up really quickly and looking really impressive in doing so.
Well, you don't have to be a Phi Beta Kappa to understand that he was an honor student at Duke University. Plus, he's got he's played an awful lot of football. He played under a very, very knowledgeable coach in Cutcliffe. So he's going to be that way. I think he was a good pick. I said that before, and I think he's going to end up being a heck of a pick there.
All right, Coach, and we'll just continue to see how he develops there with the New York Giants. You got to think, obviously, Eli Manning's going to be their starting quarterback moving forward, but, he's going to be a guy that if Eli Manning goes down, it's going to give them a viable option there at the quarterback position. Coach, you take a look at it. Baltimore, looks like they are adding some new players onto their roster here in the offseason. They are getting ready to add Shane Ray and Michael Floyd to their lineups there. And, Coach, this is some players that may be seen as a little past their prime a little bit, but, Coach, still guys that can have an impact.
Yeah, Shane Ray's not that far into his career, so I think he's going to be a positive impact player. Maybe a little long in the tooth on one, not so much on the other. So it should be a positive impact for him.
All right, Coach, in keeping with the quarterback news here, with the rookie quarterback news, I should say, it looks like Drew Lock, the rookie quarterback with the Denver Broncos, Coach, he's a guy that is expected to not be the starter this year. They're going to put him underneath Joe Flacco and let him kind of learn how to play the game. And that seems to be quite all right with Joe Flacco. He's come out and said, look, I'm very appreciative of all the help I can get, especially from a guy like Joe Flacco. So looks like Drew Lock knows his place there in Denver. He knows he's not going to be starting game one, day one, but he is very eager to learn under a guy like Joe Flacco, who is a guy that can teach him a thing or two about how to be prepared inside the NFL.
Yeah, I think it's a good situation for him and also for Jones at New York. I think both are in similar situations. I don't think either will play in their this year, but both are going to develop and be good pro quarterbacks. I really believe that.
All right, Coach, let's switch gears back to college football because we've talked about this before. Coach, the whole situation going on with the University of Florida right now is a tough situation. It's a situation where they've had 3 different players decommit. Now, the thing with the players that have decommitted, and the reason why I don't think this is a problem, is they're part of the 2021 class. So there's a couple of recruiting classes before they're even going to be freshmen there at the University of Florida if they were to recommit. So I don't think the decommitments is an issue. Coach, what the issue here is the situation that's happened with Jalen Jones, the situation that's happened with Steele. They've even had an issue with an assistant coach having some issues with a former girlfriend. And Coach Dan Mullen finally breaking his silence about this at a Gator Boosters meeting in Tampa. And he said, obviously, anybody that knows me, I like to take an extremely strong stance on that, talking about the abuse against women. He says, I don't see anything acceptable about that or any violence against women, whether it's a violent act or a wrongful sexual act towards a woman. But I also like to have all the information before making final decisions. And, Coach, the reason he's making these comments is kind of came under fire a little bit for maybe the length of time it took him to make a decision on this, and people are kind of looking at that saying, we've heard the reports that maybe Dan Mullen doesn't exactly have a good grip on the program down there, things like that. We see now with this comment, it's not exactly true. He just wanted to find out all the details. And, Coach, I think this is the perfect time and the perfect statement for Dan Mullen to release out to the media because even more so than the players, his name is the one that's getting dragged through the mud right now because of this situation. So I think this statement he said on, I believe it was on Tuesday or Wednesday in Tampa, Coach, was a step in the right direction as far as moving on past this and getting back on track with football.
Oh, I think so. And I give him the benefit of the doubt right now, as I've said many times. I think he did an excellent job last year. But this is just a great example, Jordan, of how delicate that situation is in the locker room and in the dorm room over there, and the absolute necessity to have a disciplined, well-organized program. You lose control too quickly. I mean, things can just get out of control, spiral out of control overnight if you're not careful. And this is what concerns me, is that this is now festering with players. Don't think those players aren't talking about it, all of them. And they need some leadership now, some leadership from some of those players. Just tell me, I know what I'm talking about. Some players need to step up, and if he's got the discipline needed in that program. See, a good example is you would never have this with the New England Patriots, for example.
Right.
If nothing else, the players would step in and stop it immediately. But if it ever got beyond the players to Belichick, it would be dealt with very severely and very quickly. And they know that. And this is the type program that you have to maintain total control. And really, it's the type program players want. They want a disciplined program that they can count on. So anyway, I'm going a little long on it. I give Mullen the benefit of the doubt. But it's something that we need to keep an eye on, Jordan, and it's something that is of a little concern.
All right, Coach, and continuing to, as we continue to take a look, and so far this week we've taken a look at several team schedules. One of those teams, in fact, has been the Florida Gators. And, Coach, you take a look at this team, and, besides this was a team that had the momentum moving in the right direction. This kind of has set them back a little bit. And like you said, they now need players to step up, become leaders inside that locker room, on the field and off the field, and get this team back on track. Because this is a football team, Coach, that you and I have talked about it before, and we don't expect them to be in the college football playoffs this year, but this is a team with the talent that if the breaks fall their way, and when we went over their schedule turned out to actually not be quite as challenging as what we thought before we went over it, because they do get a lot of lucky breaks. They do have to go to Baton Rouge, but they get Auburn at home this year, Coach. They get Tennessee at home this year. Obviously, they don't have to go to Athens. They play Georgia and Jacksonville. Coach, this is a Florida team that if they can get things back on track, they have the talent, and if things fall their way during the season, they could actually surprise some people and maybe be a playoff team because they have the skill set, they have the talent, they have the coaching as well with Dan Mullen and his staff. But, Coach, first and foremost, like you said, they've got to get things back on track. And if they don't do that, this could be something that takes them from, I think when we went over their schedule, we had them 10-2 on the year with losses to LSU and Georgia. Coach, this is something that could take them from a 10-2 team to a 8-5 team or 8-4 team in a hurry.
Oh, you're not kidding. And keep in mind, now to get in the playoffs, they're probably going to have to be down at one loss to either LSU or Auburn. Probably that would be a quality loss, and not one to one of the smaller schools. And then they would have to win the SEC championship, and that game is going to probably be against Alabama.
Right.
So factor that game into the scenario as well. It would be rough, but your proposal there is right in that if they follow through and have that great year, which they're capable of doing, and certainly with that schedule, they've got a favorable schedule. They could end up being in the hunt. Yes.
All right, well, we're going to take our first time out of the show. When we come back, Tim Brando is going to be joining us right here on Talk Football with Coach K, coming up next on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
Wings are now on Beef O'Brady's 2 for $20 deal. Wings?
Wings. Bigger bang, same buck. Pick a starter plus 2 entrees. Like 10 of Beef's famous wings. Still $20. 2 for $20. Worth every penny.
Tower, this is Alpha Squad. Something smells mighty good up here. Who's hungry? Over.
Beef's 2 for $20. Pick a starter and 2 entrees. Like Beef's new chicken tender Parmesan skillet. Still just $20.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Yeah, so much rhythm. Babysitting your kids while they play the jazziest jazz I've ever heard jazzed is totally fine. But what's actually frustrating is the check you're handing me and the days it will take to clear. Next time, just send me money with Zelle.
Night out better. Pay your sitter easily with Zelle. Look for Zelle in your banking app.
Must have a bank account in the U.S. to use Zelle. Zelle is an early warning services trademark.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every $1 spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5, also on your HD radio at HD2 98.7 WYCT, and streaming on our website, ESPNpensacola.com. Welcome back into Talk Football with Coach K. I'm Jordan Glass, joined alongside me as always, Coach K. And Coach, we are now joined by very special guests here on the show, so I will turn it over to you and let you do the introduction.
Yes, we are, and we're very grateful to Tim Brando for coming on, taking time out of a very busy schedule that he keeps all the time. And most of you remember Tim in this area. Of course, he's still associated very much so with SEC football. But his years in the studio at CBS, every Saturday, he and Spencer Tillman, they're in the studio handling all the SEC games. And but now he wanted to get back on the field a little bit and get out of the studio. So he's with Fox now doing the West Coast football and basketball for the Pac-10 out there, and just does an outstanding job. He's from Shreveport, I think lives there in the off-season, Shreveport, Louisiana. Also the home of Joe Ferguson, Terry Bradshaw, David Woodley, A.L. Williams. That was quite a high school quarterback list there. But thank you so much for coming on, Tim.
Thank you, Coach. It's great to be with you and Jordan as well. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's hard to believe, but I'm starting my 6th year at Fox now, and in addition to doing the Big Ten in the Midwest now, I've gone to places like Ann Arbor, Michigan, and the Rose Bowl, places that really, for years, I didn't get a chance to see because I was so immersed in SEC football. So it's been a real gift to see college football played in other parts of the country. And I think you know enough about me to understand I'm a historian. So, to say that you've done a game at the Big House in Michigan or a game at the Horseshoe or the Rose Bowl, that's something as a broadcaster you always want to say that you did. And now I'm getting that opportunity. And the run at CBS was 18 years worth, and it was a lot of fun. But a lot of that time I was in New York, hurrying and scurrying to put together pregame shows and halftimes. And as I once said to someone who said, well, gosh, we miss you on Saturdays in the studio, I'm like, yeah, but you know what? When they replay classic games, they never replay the halftime show. They only replay the games. So I had a front row seat at a lot of them. I did do a few games at CBS whenever we had doubleheaders and a few NFL games too. But I had been, I think, to some extent pigeonholed career-wise, and understandably so, having been the original host of College Game Day at ESPN back in the 80s and during your heyday. I think it was only natural for me to be in the studio for a long time. But at the tender age of 63, I still feel like I've got a lot of catching up to do in terms of the number of games I always wanted to call, and now I'm getting to do that.
Well, that is so true and very, very interesting, Tim. You do an outstanding job. We do miss you. I can say that on Saturdays. It's almost like and when you were in New York, though, we used to feel like, gosh, there's Tim in New York, and they're playing SEC football. He needs to be on in the stadium. But let me ask you some questions, if I could, and maybe not in rapid fire, but some things that a number of people would like answered. There's a lot of talk about Justin Herbert, the quarterback at Oregon, and we don't know as much about him. I have seen some clips. They're very impressive. He certainly fits he passes the eyeball test, and he checks most of those measurable boxes. But talk about him for a minute, because he is somebody that's very interesting and will be it's interesting to me that he decided to stay in school another year. I think that's very impressive rather than coming out this year.
Yeah, it is. And a couple of primary reasons for that. And I did 2 Oregon games last year. One of them they lost, actually, at Washington State. You might recall that game. It was where game day was. They did their show in Pullman, and Gardner Minshew, who was incredible, leading passer in the country last year out of Brandon, Mississippi, who was picked up as a grad transfer, had an amazing year for Mike Leach, as you know. And that night they were playing Oregon, and Oregon was ranked in the top 15 at that time. They had just beaten Washington at home, only had 1 loss. They stormed the field in Pullman. Washington State went on to win 11 games, but Herbert was even then at midseason being touted as maybe the first, potentially the first quarterback to be taken in this draft. But I think he's very young. They were in transition from a coaching standpoint, as you know, at Oregon with Mario Cristobal and his staff. So I think that he needed that extra year of maturation, no doubt about it. The other factor is he's got a brother who was a 5-star talent. It's going to be a tight end. I think he desperately wanted to play with him. He's right from Eugene. He's a Eugene kid. And so I think that the family factor and being a homespun star, so to speak, has a lot to do with him staying. But I think also he got some good advice from a number of people. Said, you really need to work on this. and that to make yourself more complete as a quarterback. And Oregon will be the team out west that I think stays in the national limelight through much of the season. You know, the rest of the Pac-12 is down. USC is in real trouble. UCLA will be better. They do have a really good quarterback, and I think Chip will have a breakthrough season with the Bruins, but they don't have much of a defense. So I think Oregon could put up really big numbers through the course of the year. Utah will still be good. You know, that guy's a really good defensive coach. I think it'll be harder for Washington State this year without Minshew at quarterback. We'll find out if the mad scientist can find another great quarterback. He usually does. But the league itself is down, measurably down. So Herbert can take advantage of that, I think, have a really big season, possibly be a Heisman candidate. This will help him both monetarily, I think, and physically and mentally going into the draft. But he's so quick. He's got great athleticism. He throws the ball really well on the run. But he also, I think, from the standpoint of decision-making, is a really good, solid decision maker. And I think that that's one of the reasons why the scouts are still so very high on him. But, he mentally, I think, is a small-town Pacific Northwest kid, rural, really, kid, just outside the Eugene area. And I think he needed that year of mental preparation to get himself good, to be good to go, especially because of the coaching change that they had and Mario coming in. So I expect him to have a breakthrough year, and he's a guy that you're going to be hearing a lot about with Heisman hype as the season gets going. He'll likely be the only guy that gets any of that because of, the Tua factor at Alabama, the Lawrence factor at Clemson, and Fromm at Georgia. I think he'll be that other name that you hear about.
I agree with you totally. You know, Mel Kiper, now this is ridiculous to be talking about the draft next year, but
happens all the time, though, Kenny.
I know. As he rates the quarterbacks coming out next year, of course, the kid at Clemson can't come out next year. He would be number one on anybody's list at any year. But Kiper has Tua right now, the leading quarterback as far as the draft would be concerned. Herbert and Fromm, those three, with others that could get in the mix there.
Right.
But
well, if you don't mind my interjecting something here, I think there's going to be a major story developing with regard to players' eligibility for professional options, and I'm going to take you back in time, Coach. Remember when the USFL came around? I was just a kid starting at ESPN at the time. I was 28, 29 years old. I had the opportunity to call Herschel Walker breaking, at the time, the single-season rushing record in pro football. Now, it wasn't the NFL, but it was a single-season rushing record that he broke when he was playing for the New Jersey Generals. You recall, I'm sure, Donald Trump as the owner of that team and his going out and getting Doug Flutie and Herschel Walker. And in the case of Walker, he was able to get him out early. As the NFL wasn't doing that then. And to get Herschel as a junior coming out of Georgia, remember how big a story that was back in 1984?
I well remember that. You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a very big story as he was coming out of Georgia. I want to say it was the 82-83 season. He got Herschel to come in. It was a landmark decision at the time. Much was made of it. Vince Dooley, I think, took the high road and embraced it to some extent. We see how the world changed after that. But I think what's going to happen this year with the birth of the XFL and Vince McMahon's startup league, which will have two networks now, both my network, Fox, as well as ESPN are going to be involved. And when I say Fox and ESPN, I also mean ABC and Fox. So two over-the-air networks as well as FS1 and ESPN and ABC. That's a lot of coverage. I think with the alliance out of the way, the amount of in the talent pool is going to be outstanding, and they will not have the same financial issues that the alliance had. The XFL is going to be in really good shape financially, and I think that they are not going to be beholden to the NFL. I think they will compete for players with the NFL, and look out for the potential of sophomore players. All right, pushing the system and saying we're going to come out, and I think the potential of running backs as well as quarterbacks leaving early to go to an XFL team, not an NFL, but an XFL team, is a very legitimate possibility.
I could see that, and I certainly would agree with you, and I wouldn't be surprised at all, Tim, if that happened. Not at all. And you're right. Now the XFL is very interesting. I think there certainly is a place for spring football, but only for one league, obviously.
Yeah, you're right.
And
right.
We had.
I'll tell you something else. Kay. Oliver Luck's running that league gives it a lot of credibility, a kind of credibility that the original XFL obviously didn't have.
You bet. Now, I had Oliver Luck on the station this show about a month and a half ago, and we had a long talk about the league. So I'm pretty familiar with. I know they have a tremendous amount of money available for the league, and I've heard from other reliable sources that it's in excess of $500 million.
Yeah, it's impressive. You know, the funny thing, and not much has been made of this, but neither one of the networks in the deals that were announced, neither Fox or ESPN, had to pay rights fees. All right, but they did have to say we will finance all of the broadcasting. In other words, they will underwrite the leagues are on the hook to produce the games at the highest level, and they will pay for the production. Okay, but they're not paying an exorbitant rights fee, which tells you that the league owners and the league itself is doing so well financially that they're going to prove how big and how important spring football could be. And then the next time around, you watch, they will try to get, and they will get, some rights fees to help themselves. So I think it's the potential of changing the paradigm of football in this country is there. I've always felt, because of the time I spent in the USFL as a young broadcaster, if they had just remained vigilant and not gotten arrogant about pushing the NFL buttons and moving to the fall, John Bassett down there in Tampa knew what he was doing. And sadly, guys like now President Donald Trump, they wanted to move in and compete in the fall, and that was just a very poor decision historically, as it turned out.
You're right. It was an extremely poor decision. And there are other leagues, the World League that the NFL was involved with. Of course, I was involved in that league, and I tell you, the good football players. We had we had a very good football team. We could have, believe it or not, you could ask any number of people, NFL people that were involved in the league, but our particular team could have competed with middle of the rung NFL teams, not the best NFL teams, but middle of the rung down. We could have competed with those teams.
Well,
and
that first Saints team that Jim Mora had that made the playoffs, that Bobby Hebert was quarterbacking for, and those great linebackers, the Soul Patrol that the Saints had, Sam Mills, all those guys played for Mora with the Baltimore and Philadelphia Stars. It was interesting to me. The NFL spent all their time talking about what a joke the league was from a talent standpoint, and then when the league folded, about 33% of the rosters went into the NFL, and many of them became Pro Bowlers and NFL Hall of Famers.
Yeah,
Sam Mills, by the way. Yeah,
exactly. Could I impose on you for one other thing, Tim? If you could, we need to take a quick break, but I've got 2 or 3 more questions I really need to get to you. Thanks so much. Hold on.
You bet.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Wings are now on Beef O'Brady's 2 for $20 deal. Wings?
Wings. Bigger bang, same buck. Pick a starter plus 2 entrees. Like 10 of Beef's famous wings, still $20. 2 for $20. Worth every penny.
Tower, this is Alpha Squad. Something smells mighty good up here. Who's hungry? Over.
Beef's 2 for $20. Pick a starter and 2 entrees. Like Beef's new chicken tender Parmesan skillet, still just $20.
The weather is heating up, and it's time to make sure your battery is ready. At AutoZone, we have the free services you need to do it right. Car not starting? The solution starts at America's #1 battery destination. We'll test your battery for free and help you figure out the real issue, so you don't buy what you don't need. Getting the job done just got easier. Let us help you at more than 5,600 locations nationwide. Restrictions and details in store. The MPD Group Incorporated Car Care Track, 12 months ending December 2018.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Drop the anchor, will you?
Sure, Grandpa.
You tied it off, right?
Tied what off?
The anchor. And the rope that the anchor was attached to.
There's a reason they say curse like a sailor.
Ah. Hey, watch your mouth.
Many reasons. Progressive's boat insurance has you covered. Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
So much for fish for dinner.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Okay, welcome back to our show, Talk Football, and we have one of my favorites and one of the most recognizable names in sports, in the sports business, and that's Tim Brando. And he's kind enough to come on with us, number one, and number two, to stay on through this break and take another couple of questions. Tim, thank you.
You bet, Coach.
Let me ask you about the young quarterback at Southern Cal. Started as it J.T. Daniels?
Yeah.
Started as a true freshman last year. I keep hearing different stories about him. What's the first-hand knowledge on him?
I think he was thrown to the wolves a little too soon. I think the situation with Darnold was what it was, and they just weren't prepared for whatever reason for Sam to leave. And the hype machine around USC, I don't need to tell UK what happens a lot of times with up-and-comers out there. It's almost, at some point you just can't believe everything that you hear. The enormous amount of talent out in California is tremendous. And USC, by and large, is always going to get the top recruits. And sometimes they don't have to work that hard to get them. But a lot of times I think some of those players could be maybe incredible when they're sophomores and juniors, But once they've made the commitment that they're going to USC, I don't know that they continue to develop. You remember what happened to Mac Brown at Texas post-2009. I thought a lot of times he was getting recruits to sign or commit really, really soon, and he would honor those commitments and sign them without understanding that maybe they weren't as developed as they needed to be because they had made the decision too soon. I think that happens a lot with kids with respect to USC. And Darnold obviously still needed some work. I mean, he threw a lot of interceptions in his last year there, but he was such a freakish athlete that he was going to go really high, and I think is going to be a great pro eventually in New York. I don't think Daniels was ready for all that it was in front of him, especially with a new offensive line, which they had. I think he could have a very good year, but I think in some respects, USC has lost its mojo with regard to its offensive line and its running ability. You know, they've always had great running backs and outstanding offensive lines. Offensive line is not where it needs to be, and the running backs have not really been, in my opinion, up to the standards that USC's had in the past, which made for a lot of second and third and longs, and put, I think, Daniels in a position where there were deer in the headlights moments. We'll see if it improves at all this year. It's a huge year for Clay, but you see what happened with Kingsbury coming in, and within a month he was gone because the Cardinals hired him as a head coach. I don't know that young man is in the best possible situation right now.
Yeah, you're talking about Helton. Yeah,
and I love Clay.
Yeah.
You know, and I know his dad worked a lot of games when his dad was a coordinator, and I think a lot of Clay, but it's just a bad situation out there right now.
Yeah, he's actually, his dad is from Pensacola here, this area. They moved to Gainesville, but for his high school years. But anyway, a lot of connection there. What do you think? And I guess maybe I should preface by saying I made a prediction that the Southern California job would come open at some point in the not-too-distant future. And the next head coach out there would be Urban Meyer. He would jump on it. That tends to be looks to me to be a typical Urban move. But do you think that the USC job is probably going to open up?
Yeah, I do think it's going to open up. I think that was one of the reasons why they were in the mood to make such a commitment to Kingsbury to be an offensive coordinator out there. And then really the Cardinals, because of the relationship, I think, with McVay and what McVay did with the Rams, they jumped on Cliff. And I think now with Kyler Murray, that thing could be, I don't know that they'll be as successful as the Rams, but I do think it can work in that division of the NFL. The thing with Urban Meyer this time around is he's now accomplished so much more than he had in his days at Florida. I thought Ohio State was really his dream job. And if there was another dream job for Urban after Ohio State, and this was in his formative years, and even the people at Florida knew this when he was there, the Notre Dame job. He worked for Holtz as a young, really young coach when he was really green, and I think learned so much about the game from Holtz. And, of course, Lou was also a big Ohio State guy, as you know, worked for Woody as an assistant coach before he became a head coach at William & Mary many, many, many years ago. I think the health thing with Urban this past year was real. I know there have been some that have scoffed at that notion, particularly from his time at Florida. But the Urban Meyer that I witnessed at Ohio State was not the same head coach as the one I knew at Florida. He had changed. He had mellowed in many ways. There had been a bit of a dose of humility, which some would say he possibly needed. When he joined up with us at Fox, and I've not talked to Urban since he took the job at Fox. I'll be seeing him in late July. I think in his own mind, it really was time to get away. Now, I'll never say never. You know how coaches are addicted to coaching. So could he coach again? And if he did, would it be at USC? I'd say potentially. But if that job came open, say, early this year, if at mid-season they decided to make a change, which they've done recently, as you know, it happened to Lane Kiffin during the season on a tarmac at LAX. I just don't see Urban as being ready to do that just yet. If he goes back, I think it'll take more than 1 year for him to go back. It won't be like Ohio State when he did a year of time at ESPN. I just don't see that. I think he is still young enough that he can get himself back to health. And if he feels like he's fresh again in 3 or 4 years, can he coach again? Yeah, maybe. But I just don't see it right now. I really don't.
Well, that's interesting. Do me a favor, if you will. Line up the conference out there, and how do you, if you had to rate them right now, how they might finish in the conference, and where Stanford might make a reappearance into the upper echelon there.
Well, that's the most consistent program in the league. You know, we talked about Oregon being the most talented and having the greatest recruiting class, no doubt about it. Mario Cristobal is an engaging young coach. The time he spent with Saban and the work ethic that he picked up from Nick and his time at Alabama. I don't know what happened there with his head coaching job. That was one of the most bizarre firings I think I've ever seen that made him available to come to Nick, but he got a lot out of that opportunity. But Stanford is the most consistent program over the last 2 decades, really, in the Pac-12, and especially the last 10 years. The development of quarterbacks with Luck, and that they do need to get their running game going again. And their offensive line typically is their strength. That last year they got banged up, and it affected them towards the end of the year. Stanford would be, in my opinion, right behind Oregon this year. And I think you got to still give Washington its due because of the job Peterson has done out there. He's got to make a change at quarterback this year, so we'll see how that goes. But the problem with the Pac-12, Kay, is when USC and UCLA are down, when they're not factors, then it has a really indelible impact negatively on the Pac-12 from a national standpoint. I can make a case that the American Conference last year with UCF and Houston and Memphis, and it was better than the Pac-12. In fact, I think it was. Now, I don't think that'll be true this year, but I think it certainly was true last season. And the Big Ten still, from top to bottom, is, I think, the best league in terms of going after the SEC for dominance. Now, they don't have a team right now that would challenge Clemson, for instance, as being a dominant program. You know, they're lacking the dominant program. But from top to bottom, those teams, you know, the Minnesotas, the Illinois, the schools at the bottom historically have gotten better, and I think are going to continue to challenge. You know, even Indiana gave Ohio State a great game last year. So I think that league has got a lot of competitive balance, but it's not. It doesn't have a dominant program. The ACC has a dominant program, but not the balance. They just don't have it. And then I think you're looking at right now, to me, the Big 12 with Oklahoma and Texas on a bounce back. You know, the resurgence of Texas to go along with Oklahoma is, I think, you know, the other premier program. You can pencil in Alabama and Clemson now. We all know they're going to be there at the end. And I think Oklahoma will be there at the end. The talent that's going to surround them, Jalen could have a great year. And that the early season matchups that they have will be very important. But, you know, the rest of the Big 12 is really good. Baylor is going to have an outstanding young team this year for Coach Rule. And, you know, some of the other changes that have been made in the conference, you know, we'll see how West Virginia does without Dana Holgorsen, and we'll see how, you know, Texas Tech evolves with a new defensive mind as its head coach. But, you know, right now, I think Oklahoma and Texas have an opportunity to really build the Big 12 back up. It looks like that rivalry is going to be special again.
I agree with you. I really think Texas, regardless of what you think about Herman, he's certainly turning that program around.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah, he is, and he's built the program on toughness. And And, Ellinger's not an efficient quarterback necessarily, but he's a tough quarterback. And I think, Herman likes that about him. Ellinger, to me, is very similar to the kid at LSU, only I actually do think the upside in terms of throwing the football and accuracy, I think Burrow is actually better than Ellinger in that area. But he's athletic and tough like Burrow. You know what I mean? Reminds me a lot. That's going to be a hell of a game to watch early, Coach, is that LSU-Texas game.
Oh, you bet. We've got that one penciled in. You bring up an interesting point. I have said that I think LSU will go as the quarterback goes this year in particular.
And he's good.
They've got a good defense, a very good defense, probably a top 5 at least defense. And if the quarterback can play up to expectation, they're going to be a very potent football team, and they're going to spread it out, I guess, quite a bit more. And I don't know how Coach O is going to put up with that as they go through the year, but we will see.
They brought in the Saints receiver coach, who I know a lot about, to help Steve Ensminger, who's the offensive coordinator, with the spread approach to use those. LSU's got untapped resources at wide receiver. They've always had really good wide receivers. They just didn't trust the quarterback position enough to utilize that talent. You go back, look at the number of players. I guess maybe when Mettenberger was there and you had Jarvis Landry on one side and Odell Beckham on the other, that would be the one aberration year when they had really they did utilize the passing game. It just so happened that year they didn't have a very good defense. But they really haven't done much, those receivers. In college, yet they've been 3rd and 4th round picks, Bird and so many others in the NFL. I think they want to take advantage of the incredible talent that they always have at the wide receivers positions and in the slot. And I think the acquisition of the receivers coach, former receivers coach, Brady over at New Orleans is going to help them a lot. And I think they know this, Kay, that they've got a quarterback that can check into good situations, that keeps his cool with the play clock winding down. He can audibilize into the right play. And I don't know that they've had that ever, really, since Jimbo was schooling quarterbacks, for Nick Saban there. So I think this is really going to help them be the kind of team offensively that they need to be. I'll make this prediction for you about LSU. If they beat Texas, they will go into the Alabama game undefeated, and I think they could win 11 games.
I can certainly buy that one. I think we went over their schedule the other day and looked at it, and just what
it's a little better for them.
Yeah,
to get past Texas.
Yeah, I think they could do that. Let me ask you. Got to ask you this. Back to 50 more things I'd like to ask you, but I got to ask you. What do you hear? What do you hear about the disappointment? A couple of disappointments going on down at Florida right now.
Whew. That was a big loss for them the other day. No question about that. And I don't know where this rumbling's coming from with regard to this need to, poke the bear that is the Georgia Bulldogs right now. I'm not sure of the drama and where that drama is really coming from. It's certainly not going to – if it's about building your base and talking to your fans and making sure that they stay confident, I mean, I realize that the Florida fan base is a special one that needs to be nurtured to some extent. But there's no denying that Dan Mullen's program right now is not where Georgia's is in terms of its depth of talent. So why poke the bear? I mean, you've got a lot of games to play between now and the time that you're going to stack up against the Dogs. And it's not like this is a division now that's just about Georgia and Florida. I mean, it's not. Kentucky's really, really good. Stoops has done a great job. Now, I know that they lost some players to graduation, too, and offensively they were not very strong even a year ago. But still, that's become a pretty tough program, one that Florida, I think, could always, in the past, check off. Well, you can't check them off anymore. And I think Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee has done a really solid job, and you may see some added strength from them. I mean, this is just not the time to start separating yourself with rhetoric about Georgia and you being at the top of the heap and no one else being competitive. Listen, I've known Dan Mullen a long time. I do think he's a great quarterback whisperer. I think he understands game planning and play calling as well as anybody in the conference. I do believe that. But some of this stuff off the field, they need to chill out, cool this thing down a little bit.
I couldn't agree with you more, my friend. That is an excellent observation on Florida and the situation there between Florida and Georgia. But they've had some kids leaving here recently, and I don't know. You know how those things go; they mushroom pretty quick if you're not careful.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do, and you better keep an eye on. I think a lot of times now, Kay, watching and being really vigilant about watching the transfer portal is really, really important. And I think that's something that some coaches keep a great eye on and have proven to be very successful at it. We might be having a different conversation about Florida, though, if Will Grier had not had his situation pop up. Think about what might have happened with the Florida program had Will never had to leave. Dana Holgerson told me this when I was in West Virginia last year. He said, man, we'll never be able to recruit at West Virginia a kid like Will Grier out of high school, but we can get one like Will Grier as a transfer.
Yeah.
Coaches have to be aware of where they are and what they can achieve based on the geography and the history of their current programs. And, I think that Florida has always felt like it was a cut above, and they are. I mean, look, the talent pool is incredible. You've won national championships with two coaches there in the last generation. And Dan was part of those national championships. So I get the, hey, we're Florida, look at us mentality. I get that. But, you can supplant, even if you're Alabama, if you're Florida, if you're Texas, if you're even great programs with big brand names, had better be watching that transfer portal because that one player can make a huge difference. Look at what Oklahoma has done, at the quarterback position with transfers in back-to-back years, and may do it again.
Yeah.
So, you can never say that you're too big a program to say that you use transfers to get you a championship.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I agree with you about Grier. Listen, Tim, we're going to have to run. I really hate it. I'd love to have some more time with you. If you wouldn't mind, maybe one more time before the season starts, if I
would love to
get you back on, I would greatly appreciate it, my friend.
As you got it. As we get into August, I'd love to come back on, and by that time we'll have a better handle on what to expect, and I'll know what games I'll be doing those first 2 weeks.
Thanks so much, Tim. Thanks again.
You bet, Coach. Always a pleasure being with you guys.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a quick timeout. When we come back, more Talk Football with Coach K coming up next right here on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
Wings are now on Beef O'Brady's 2 for $20 deal. Wings?
Bigger bang, same buck. Pick a starter plus 2 entrees. Like 10 of Beef's famous wings, still $20. 2 for $20. Worth every penny.
Tower, this is Alpha Squad. Something smells mighty good up here. Who's hungry? Over.
Beef's 2 for $20. Pick a starter and 2 entrees. Like Beef's new chicken tender Parmesan skillet, still just $20.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. If you're tailgating before the game, don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every $1 spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5, also on your HD radio at HD2 98.7 WYCT, streaming on our website, ESPNpensacola.com. Welcome back into Talk Football with Coach K. About a minute left in today's show. We want to say thank you once again to Tim Brando for joining us. Coach, it's a guy that everybody listening to the show, if you're a college football fan, you're very familiar with Tim Brando, and great information right there from him on really about any team in the country. He kind of spread coast to coast there, and just good quality information.
Yeah, as Tim said, he's a great historian of college football, and certainly is so full of information. We could have him on for 2 or 3, 4 hours and really enjoy it, and never really reach the bottom of that well. But anyway, he's going to come on again, Jordan, before the season, and be something to look forward to.
That is definitely going to be something to look forward to. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like he said, he'll know a little bit better the games he'll be calling then at that point, so we'll be able to talk about those games, really focus and hit on those. So again, Tim Brando going to join us a little later on when we get closer to the season, maybe in late July, early August, getting ready for the 150th season of college football. Well, that song means that's all the time we have for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, thank you so much to Tim Brando for joining us on Talk Football with Coach K. For Coach K, I'm Jordan Glass. You guys have a great afternoon, a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday right here on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
This is Pensacola's hometown all-sports station and home of the Blue Wahoos, ESPN Pensacola 94.5. Catch all the Wahoos games home and away all season, plus all the latest Wahoos news from Chad Brilliante on the Sports Drive, 5 till game time weeknights. And hey, if your business would like to partner with us as an advertiser or with a local sports promotion, then give us a call at 850-262-6000 or shoot us an email from the advertise page on ESPNpensacola.com.